Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Hail Mary Show presented by Agape Freedom Sports. I'm Daniel Bohenek, and I am joined by the owner of Agape Freedom Sports, Jeric Yurkanin. Jeric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Daniel, it's a beautiful day outside. I'm outside doing this podcast. Hopefully it doesn't get too loud. But I love the fall. I love pumpkin spice. I love donuts, pumpkin, everything. And I love football. So I'm doing
Sounds
this.
great. Of course. And we are here to bring you everything football on this podcast. The Hail Mary Show is here for you and here to stay, hopefully. Our first sponsor that I want to mention is Benny's Pizza. Benny's Pizza. Stop by Benny's Pizza for the best pizza, wings, and fries with locations in Greenridge, Clark Summit, and Peckville. Benny's is always here for you and ready to serve. I'm going to dive into our first topic, that being Scranton Prep and Valley View. I want to ask you, what goes into this rivalry and what makes it so memorable?
This rivalry is definitely a rivalry, as you mentioned. What's more memorable is like both the teams been pretty good the last few years, Daniel. But the thing is, Valley View has struggled to beat Scranton Prep. It's been several years since they beat Prep. Prep has been an area powerhouse the last several years. And unfortunately for Valley View, Prep is returning their star running back, Will McPartland, who had close to over 1,000 yards last season. He had 17 touchdowns. He's going to be one of the top 3 running backs this year, I believe. And he could play defense. And if necessary, they could even use him at quarterback to do some things, some running plays, some passing plays. They did last year. He's a very good, talented football player. And they have a few people returning from their offense and defense. But they have lost their star quarterback, Scranton Prep. Lewis Paris, due to graduation, and a running back / wide receiver, Trevon Dickey. So that's a big loss for Prep. But Prep is Prep, and they're always never rebuilding, always reloading. And this year they reloaded. They had talent on a depth chart last year that was young, and this year they're gonna have the opportunity to show how good they could be. Valley View has lost the quarterback, Zach Sawinski. He could throw pretty good. They lost him to graduation. He could run the ball. He was a hard runner as well. So they have to replace him, and they're replacing him with a sophomore. So we're going to have to see what the sophomore could do. I actually forget his name, and I apologize for that. But they're also to return replace a running back. Nick Karski was a very good running back with Valley View last year, and he was an excellent defensive back as well. As in the Dream game back in July, Nick had 2 interceptions on defense, and he's going to be going to Lackawanna. So that's a big loss for the Cougars. They lost, a few other players. Thomas Ferrelli, a good offensive lineman. But they do have some people returning. They have Nico Hazelton returning. He's going to be a senior. They have Jeffrey Wischerchak. He was a sophomore last year, Dan, for Valley View. And he had about, I think it was 102 tackles last year as a sophomore. I thought he should have been named All-State, but I think he was overlooked. But that's okay. That's just when they pick All-State players and All-Stars, that's just people's opinion, right? That's what I've learned over the years. And correct me, Jeffrey Wischerchak had 107 tackles last year, and the returning Jack Conrad on the offensive line as well. And then Jason Mungley is going to be the tight end. Jason Mungley, he was injured for a couple games last year, so he didn't get a whole lot of playing time. I had the opportunity to interview Jason. He is a senior, and he hit the weight room in the offseason, and Valley View is ready. They're ready. They would like to beat Prep. Dan, they lost to Prep 33-0 last year, but I'm going to have to pick Scranton Prep to win this one.
It seems like a good pick, and it seems like Prep is going to have their guns a-blazing this year. Let's move on and let's talk about Lakeland Carbondale. My question for you is, who will have the better bounce back year, considering both of these teams kind of struggled last year, and who do you got in this matchup?
A better bounce back year is going to be Lakeland. Lakeland, they were young last year. They actually had, by end of the season, I think by mid-season might have been, can't remember exact week, but they had like 8 starters out due to injuries. Can you believe that? And they still competed against some of the top schools in the area, at least the schools that were competitive in the area. So yeah, Lakeland, used their depth last year, and they're returning this year. Their depth, they're healthy this year. Some people think it's their year. Some sports media thinks it's not their year yet, but they have to earn it, right? Lakeland has to earn their spot. They have to kind of earn their way up there to say we're going to be one of the top schools in the area, because they really struggled the past 2 years, this group. But they have talent. They have David Nanowitz returning. He's a senior, 3-year starter. He could throw the ball very well, and he's a big guy, 6'3", and he could run the ball as well. Not always the fastest guy, but he gets some yards and he pounds it. And then they also have wide receivers returning. Gavin Roberts, he had a big game against Honesdale last year. That was a pretty awesome game. It came down to the end to a 2-point conversion. It was back and forth. I was there. And then they have Chase Rosegrants is another good wide receiver. So they have some weapons. And they also have Dylan Loomis returning, a linebacker, which he was injured a couple games last year. He's going to be a junior this year, and he's hit the weight room. The Chiefs has hit the weight room. They want to come back and play Lakeland football. Something they've been struggling with was, throughout the early 2000s, mid-2000s, Lakeland was one of the dominant teams in the area. And they kind of got up on the radar 2019, 2021, 2022. They won a district championship. So his name is Cole Burketti. He's 6'2". He's a pretty good quarterback. He could run the ball well. He could throw the ball. He's definitely a weapon. And Carbondale has a few players returning on offense and defense. But last year, Lakeland had no trouble beating Carbondale. And that's how it's been the last few years. But it's tough to say, but I definitely think Lakeland's going to do it again this year and beat Carbondale. Lakeland's loaded with weapons, and it's their year. But you have to put the question mark there. Are they going to come through? Are they going to step up in the key big games and beat Dunmore or beat the top schools in the area when it's needed? So I pick Lakeland over Carbondale.
I think that's a good pick to go with based on history and everything that goes into it, and especially with all those starters returning. They had kind of a little iffy year last year because of it. With them returning, hopefully they'll have a better year. This is the third segment that we're going to be going into, but first I want to mention another sponsor that we had, that being Andy's Pizza. Andy's Pizza is celebrating 80 years in business, and Andy's Pizza can never get old. Open 7 days a week. There's never a time you can't get a delectable slice to fulfill your day. Andy's Pizza ships throughout the country and could arrive at your doorstep today. Let's move into our next topic. Jeric, I know you might have a sleeper team this year. Everybody has their sleeper team. What's yours?
I'm going to have to go with the Dunmore Bucks. Dunmore struggled last year. They lost 4 games in a row last year. And Dan, take a guess. When was the last time Dunmore has lost 4 games in a row? in opening season, since the season started.
It has to be a long time ago. Dunmore is not that bad of a team.
It goes back to 1997, and it was against
Wow.
Owensdale. Their fourth loss was that year.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so Dunmore, they weren't happy with their season last year. They kind of came back strong by midseason, and they ended up winning, got a couple of wins other by the time I think it was like 3 out of 5 games. I think they won. Yeah, they won 4 out of their last 6 games last year. And they beat Susquehanna in the first round of playoffs, and they lost the District 2 playoff game against a very good Riverside team. So Dunmore wants to get back to Dunmore football. They want to get back to the traditional Dunmore football. They hit the weight room hard. I was up there talking to a few players, and they also have a very good quarterback who could run and throw the ball. He transferred from Susquehanna, and one of the young men I had opportunity of interviewing last year, and he's coming as a junior, and he's going to be a good one, but he has to earn his starting spot. It's not guaranteed at Dunmore, so if he wants to start a quarterback, he's going to have to earn it. They have not named a starting quarterback yet at Dunmore, and I don't blame the coach, Kevin McHale. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're coming from or what you did at another school a year before. You have to earn your spot on his football team. Because that's Dunmore Bucks football. He's excited to be there to play for Dunmore. And Dunmore also have Xavier Burke returning, a hard fullback / running back, hard runner. And they have a big wide receiver, Kozo Zanzo. I can't even say his name. But he's a big player. He's like 6'3". He's going to be a key weapon for Dunmore. And they have a few people returning on defense. So I think Dunmore is a sleeper team.
Let's move into our next topic, that being your preseason rankings. I'm excited to hear them. You've got top 7 teams because we have a small conference. What is your top 7? I'm very curious to hear.
Yes, Dan, this was a tough one this season. But several teams have lost some key players. But I always like to look at who's the coach, who's the head coach of each team. Good coaches know how to reload, not always rebuild, because it takes time to rebuild, but you learn how to reload. And you have players who believe in your system, believes in the coach, and believes in the tradition. So sometimes that plays a role, sometimes it doesn't. But lately, throughout history, it has made a difference. So my number 7 team is going to be the Lakeland Chiefs. Now, this program is built on tradition. And while the last couple of seasons have struggled, you can feel the foundation being rebuilt. The guy leading the way, Chase Rosecrans, entering his 3rd season as a starter. He's already one of the top LFC's top playmakers with 48 catches for 500 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. He's a heartbeat of the offense and leader who wants to bring back championship level football at the Lakeland. What's the difference this season? It's going to be experience. Again, last year, Lakeland was young. They struggled. Even the year before, they struggled a little bit. But they have a young team. A lot of sophomores and juniors on the team, Dan, and they have talent everywhere. So the Chiefs want to bring back Lakeland Chiefs football, and they have depth as well this year. Up front, they got size and strength. At quarterback, they have David Nanowitz. Again, I mentioned he's a 3-year starter, 6'3", could run and throw the ball. They have Weston Loomis up front, Cole Hastings on the offensive line. On defense, they have Dilling and Caden Caruso and a few other players in the defensive backfield. The bottom line, Lakeland has been building, and this team is hungry. I went up to their camp back in early August, and they were hungry. They want to win. They've been working hard. They're really focused. They want to bring back a District 2 championship this year, and they're not going to stop. So it's a big difference. And this Lakeland team compared to last year when we went up there. I think they're ready. So they made the top 7 this year. Last year they did not. So so that's the number 7 team, Lakeland.
All right, let's move on to number 6. What's your number 6 team?
My number 6 team, they're loaded. It's no Pocono. They have a junior quarterback, Chase Zimmerman, who threw for about 800 yards last season, around 14 touchdowns. And standing next to is Joe Brisky, a powerful runner who nearly hit 600 yards before he got injured before end of the season last year. But Neil Pocono competed against some of the better schools and bigger schools last year. So this year they're returning a lot. They have a tight end and linebacker, Evan Wolf, a two-way force and college prospect. He's a big dude. He's physical, he's smart, and an emotional leader of the squad. Neil Pocono also returns wide receiver Cole West. He had around 300 yards receiving last year and about 5 touchdowns. He's going to be a reliable target for Chase Zimmerman. Defensively, this team might even be better. They finished as a number 2 defense in LFC Division 1 last year, which only gave up around 100 yards per game, which is very good. So, and they have a few players returning on that defensive unit. So, the number 7 team is No Pocono. And I won't be surprised if they move up the rankings within the first couple of weeks. And the number 5 team is Valley View Cougars. Valley View won the District 2 4A championship last season. They, as I mentioned, they lost a few key players from last year's team, but they are returning a few players. They have, again, linebacker Jeffrey Jeric, who had 107 tackles last season, and he was a little bit overlooked, I think. He's going to be returning this year, and I expect him to have a big year. So, Valley View, they're not rebuilding, they're reloading. So, they're a number 5 team. The number 4 team is Mid-Valley Spartans. Mid-Valley is big. I looked at some other rankings. They don't have them very high. I think there's a big question mark regarding Mid-Valley. They have 3 players that's over 300 pounds. They're big guys. And 1 or 2 of them were starters from last year. So the question mark is, could they play physical offense and make the key blocks and protect the quarterback, Brett Yanoski, and their new running back, their starting running back, which is Mason. And I don't have his last name here. That's my bad. Apologize for that. But he's fast. He's a fast runner. And Mid-Valley does have some weapons in other areas. But Mid-Valley, I think, could be a very good team this year. It's just going to depend on their offensive line. I was told that their offensive line is going to be averaging about 280 pounds. That's crazy. That's college level size.
Yeah, those are some big men up there.
Our number 3 team is Dunmore. The Bucks have high expectations coming in the 2025 season. They're a well-coached team. They won a District 2 title 2 years ago. And as I mentioned earlier, they have a few returning offensive defensive players. And they have a all-regional transfer QB, and he plays defensive back, Weston Yurkanin. And he's going to be a key player for Dunmore. But again, he has to earn a spot. Coach McHale is not just going to give him a starting position for what he did last year at Susquehanna, but if he could develop and he gets in the lineup, he's going to be a key force and a player that opposing defense is going to have to watch out for with this hungry Dunmore Bucks team. So there you have it, Dunmore Bucks number 3. Our number 2 team is Lackawanna Trail. Power, pride, and proven tradition. A great coach they have up there, Steve Jervis. You could always expect him to put together a good team. Again, Lackawanna Trail over the last 15 years has won several District 2 Class A titles. They're not a team that, again, that rebuilds. They reload. Coach Jervis is one of the best in the area, one of the best to do in the area besides, I would say, Old Forger's coach, Mike Schuback. So this year, they do have a few players returning. They lost some players. They have their quarterback returning, Tyler Jervis. He's a two-way weapon at quarterback and defensive back. He threw around 500 yards last year and ran for 300 yards and scored 5 touchdowns. And he also had 64 tackles on defense, Tyler Jervis, for Lackawanna Trail last year. They did lose one good running back. They're returning another one, and he's an all-state running back, Isaac Ryan. Ryan had 1,718 yards rushing and 29 touchdowns last season for the Lackawanna Trail Lions, and he's returning. And then you have all-state lineman Lucas Evans. He's going to be anchoring that good Lackawanna Trail Lion. And then they have a few other players returning, Colin Owens and Blake Stage. This is a team that averaged 337 yards per game and scored 40 points in 8 games. And they played with old school physicality and pride. So there we have it, a number 2 team, Lackawanna Trail. And now a number 1 team, which I think most people expected. Another team that's been successful the last several years. They're reloading, not rebuilding. It is Scranton Prep Cavaliers. It's going to be our number 1 team. Expectations is always high at Scranton Prep. Terry Gallagher always has his team ready. He knows how to build them. He knows how to build football players. He knows how to do it right. In the last several years, he's done just that. And when you put that prep uniform on, the standards are high. The expectations is high every year. And this year is not going to be any different. Scranton Prep as their star running back, Will McPartland returning, who had a little bit over 1,000 yards last season, and he had 17 touchdowns. Again, Will could play quarterback. He could throw the ball. He could probably play wide receiver. He plays defense. No matter where you put him, he succeeds. So I would expect him to be a key weapon for Scranton Prep this year. But Prep has reloaded, even after losing some key players to graduation. So we could expect Scranton Prep to return to success as they have been the last few years. So number 1 team is the Scranton Prep Cavaliers, and there you have it.
What an interesting list, and going into the year, I am so excited to see how this plays out. I want to mention our final sponsor of the Hail Mary Show, Episode 1, that being Kelly Ottman. She's your hometown ERA realtor. Having sales experience through many markets, Kelly is invested in you, evident through the hundreds of properties she's closed. That's going to be Episode 1 of the Hail Mary Show. Jeric, I want to thank you for being on and making this happen for the both of us, and we will see you next time.